How good really is our 2.5 grand, near 200,000 mile BMW 130i? Let's find out.
A horrendous amount of rust and scaling. Brake backing plate missing from that side.
Because you're talking, that's surely going to be thousands to...
It would be. Technician said he probably hasn't seen quite as bad as that.
So we're back at Bird's BMW Specialist. You might remember a few episodes ago we were here trying out the 130i just to give us an idea of what kind of mods we would want. As you also might remember, the auxiliary belt turned to spaghetti that day and it dramatically exploded, and actually they very kindly fit us a new one. Also at the time they said, you know, if we want to come back and have the car inspected, we could do that. So they're going to have, but it's a 1 hour inspection to kind of find out if there's anything nasty lurking underneath. So what we'll do is they're going to go and do their stuff. I'm probably going to be in the waiting room looking quite worried. Once it's all done, we're going to have a look under the car, go through their report and see what kind of nasty things are lurking. Hopefully nothing. Let's see. Right, so I'm here with Mr. Bird himself, Kevin Bird, who is going to give us the hopefully good or bad or somewhere in between news about our 130i. So yeah, I can't wait any longer. Please tell us.
Okay, we're going to start at the front end of the car. It looks a bit scabby, but it's not essentially that bad. The first thing I noticed is your headlamps are very, very badly misted.
Yes.
As you walk down the car, there are obvious signs of significant rust. When you get to the rear subframe, you start to see a horrendous amount of rust and scaling. You can see rust on all of the suspension components. The brake lines, which are very heavily rusted, and a technician said he probably hasn't seen any quite as bad as that. I got a feeling in the service history that I saw that this car had lived up in the north.
Yes, Newcastle.
Yeah, Newcastle. It's notorious for doing this to cars. There's lots of salt in the atmosphere. They put a lot of salt on the roads during the winter time. They never get cleaned off, so the consequence is rot and rust.
Yeah. So in terms of suspension, so I know obviously we've got a lot of crust, but in terms of the actual components themselves, the wishbones, everything else, everything looks all right there?
They're pretty good, yeah. Rear springs, bump stops, you've got bump stops perishing and things like that on the suspension, but there is nothing seriously at fault. You would want to change all of the brake lines, all of the metal brake lines, and also the brake hoses as well. That's a very, very common affliction of cars that have more than sort of 10 years old.
Brake lines on this pretty big job?
Yes.
Yes.
Every single brake line, or not every single day, every set of brake lines, you can be talking about a day's worth of work to get the job done properly. With this car, I would suggest that if you want to make it live to fight another day, you would drop the whole rear subframe out of the car. You can probably blast clean the whole lot, repaint it, protect it with something like dinitrol, and then once it goes back in, spray it with wax, and that will prevent it from getting any worse. Alternatively, you would end up replacing the whole subframe.
Given the value of this car, the mileage of this car, you probably wouldn't bother, would you say? Because you're talking, that's surely going to be thousands to...
It would be, you know, you could probably be looking at something like £2,500 to do it.
Basically what we paid for the car.
Yeah.
Again.
The thing to bear in mind is that car people in the know will always say it's not worth it because the car is only worth £2,500. Well, the difference is if you spend £2,500 on it, you've potentially got a really good car that could last another 10 years.
So yeah, it's not great, but it's, you know.
It's recoverable,
yes,
but at significant expense. There's all sorts of other little bits and pieces here, but those have only come out with, you know, a proposal rather than an urgent. You've got a brake backing plate missing from that side.
Oh, so we do.
Yeah, so
interesting.
that typically they can rattle. like that.
Yeah, we've noticed that before.
Yeah. And so somebody has said, okay, I'll do the clever thing and just take it off and put it in the bin. All of the expenses can mount up and make you feel unhappy about the car, which is not the right thing.
Yeah.
So
spread the cost. Ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
Don't think about it.
Well,
don't get your calculator out, for God's sake.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's you know, if it ended up owing you £6,000 and it's a real blinding car to own, then possibly worth it. You won't find a decent one, a really decent one out there for less than £6,000, and the values are going up because people do appreciate normally aspirated 6-cylinder engines with a BMW badge on the front.
But generally, 192,000 miles.
Well,
£2,500.
As I say, you know, the car drives quite well. I know you've enjoyed driving it.
Oh God! Oh God! Oh God! Oh, this is horrible.
And you just really have to overcome the reluctance of spending the same amount of money on the car as you bought it in the first place.
I guess as well, you could go and spend 4 or 5 on another one, and you'd still have that problem to sort, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
so if it's the car
absolutely.
you know and you've sorted it.
Yeah, that's it. And you'd be amazed how well, you know, if you take all of these wheel arch liners down, take the wheels off, put it outside, steam clean the entire underside, let it dry, cure any visible rust with dinitrol, and then re-wax the whole underside of the car. They come up really, really well, because most of this is superficial. You just got the risk at the rear that if the subframe has rotted through, then it's a new subframe. There's no possibility really of patching them up and doing what you see wheeler dealers do on TV. That's not going to work on something like a rear subframe.
Okay, so not the worst news, not great, but it could have been worse.
If the car drives nicely, you know, it's got expensive tyres on it, decent tyres on it, and the suspension is probably working to a degree. It's just a question of how much you love the car as to what you wish to spend on it. But no question about it, somebody in their own garage could do all of that work. It would be lots of skin knuckles, lots of broken bolts, and a lot of time. Or you can spend the money taking it into a workshop and they'll do it all in one hit. But you know, if you do it yourself, it's not going to be too much pain.
Well, you guys have all seen me try and do stuff myself, so it'll probably be the latter option. But thank you very much, Kevin. That was
no problem.
Insightful and not quite as terrifying as I thought it would be.
No.
And yeah, there we go. So there we go, inspection done. It wasn't quite as disastrous as I'd feared, but at the same time, not great either. So yeah, that's the decision for either us or the future owner of this car to make is, yeah, what do you do with the subframe? Do you just kind of, do you drop it out? Do you replace it? So I guess that's a decision for us or the future owner of this car to make at some point regarding that crusty subframe. But yeah, generally for a 192,000 mile car, £2,500, I don't think we did too badly. Now, if you like this video, please do make sure you like it, I guess, and also subscribe so you don't miss any of our future videos. And yeah, do those things.